Yeah, thanks, Timothy. Appreciate the introduction, and thanks to Spark Plus for hosting the day. Just a small correction, I'm based in Norway, not the Netherlands.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right.
Yeah, and thanks again for the opportunity to present, and I'll try and give everyone the introduction to Kuniko if you may not be familiar with us yet. So the context for Kuniko's value proposition has really been induced or supported by the EV revolution, where political climate change objectives are transforming social political agendas, and where electromobility plays a critical role in the shift towards a lower emission society. As a result, there's a significant battery manufacturing capacity coming on stream in Europe, including in Norway, to service the growing demands for electromobility. And what this translates to is increased requirements for battery metals such as copper, nickel, and cobalt. And while Europe needs a lot of battery metals, we have to ask at what cost, and also who is bearing the cost and the responsibility of the green shift. As you can see on this slide, there's unresolved pain points here. It's the carbon impacts, it's the ethical sourcing of raw materials, as well as the responsible production of natural resources. And with that, advancement and progress come at a cost, but it shouldn't be at any price. And this is well recognised by Europe, the United Nations, with the introduction of sustainability objectives and taxonomy objectives. And this is to guide all stakeholders in a resource-focused revolution towards sustainable practices on the way to our low-carbon future. In addition to that backdrop, the EU is also introducing strong regulatory and governance requirements around the EV battery life cycle. Regulations to be introduced will include requirements for carbon intensity class labels with carbon thresholds, due diligence requirements for raw material sourcing, as well as a digital passport which tracks the upstream components of the battery, which are being produced by these gigafactories. And all of that needs to be independently verified. So our solution is sort of with that context in mind. It's the right time for the development of copper, nickel, cobalt projects in Europe, for Europe. There's a strong regulatory framework, and we can ensure ethical sourcing of the raw materials. And the right strategy, Kuniko is committed to achieving a net zero carbon footprint, and that's aligned with both UN and EU sustainability objectives. And we're in the right place. Our projects are located in Norway, which is a natural fit to the strategy. Here, Kuniko gets the benefit of being able to access clean energy, with approximately 95% of the electricity being from hydropower. Further, Norway really dominates the world in the adoption of electric vehicles, while also developing its own gigafactory industry. I think also being there, you very much get in touch with how focused the community, society, business is towards zero carbon emission initiatives, as well as circular economy initiatives. So we're on the doorstep, ideally located to the fastest growing battery manufacturing capacity on the planet. And those projects are coming into fruition now, including several here in Norway. So what Kuniko brings to the table here in developing its projects in Norway is we can further reduce the supply chain and the overall battery carbon footprint with the development of our projects. And for those that you may not be aware, Norway does have an abundance of mineral wealth and a long and rich history of mining of raw materials, as well as refinement of products. Over recent years, especially due to the green shift, there's been an increased focus towards reducing the historical reliance on oil and gas and to diversify into other industries. So it's here, exploration and mining can provide an opportunity And there's an increasing focus on this, as I mentioned, towards the development of Norway's natural resources, which reduces dependence on other countries, on imports. They can support their own industries while ensuring that projects are sustainably developed and responsibly mined. So with that backdrop, we're committed to achieving a zero carbon impact. We've commenced working with Minviro specialists in the field, and we'll first take a retrospective look at how much impact we've had, and that'll really give us the tools to start engaging with various carbon offset schemes and actually work out which is best for Kuniko. It's a contentious point of discussion, so we do want to get this part right. Further with Minviro, what we'll get out of that process is also a forward-looking. We can do scenario analysis and look at what our potential carbon footprint is. So in addition, we'll engage or are engaging actively with some front runners in the market on innovation, as well as zero carbon initiatives, really trying to position ourselves to be on the front foot with meeting our zero carbon target commitment. Scandinavia also has a track record for leading the electrification in mining processes and development of electrified mining equipment. I think everyone will be familiar with mining brand names such as ABB, Sandvik, Epiroc, Atlas Copco, all Swedish companies at the forefront of providing electrified mining equipment solutions. And that's offering a step change towards sustainable best practices, which benefits employees, productivity, lowers production costs, as well as has reduced environmental impact. I expect everyone's familiar already with the fundamentals for copper, nickel and cobalt, all of which will point towards an increasing demand from battery applications and the EV revolution being a critical driver. There's supply imbalances across these commodities forecast across the next decade. And there is really a lack of ethical and responsibly sourced materials with high CO2 footprints. In addition, with the recent developments in the world, this has placed further pressure on the supply chain, particularly for nickel and cobalt. Yesterday, Reuters reported higher nickel prices being realised as a result of the sanctions on Russia, while on Monday, political risk in the DRC resulted in control of a Chinese-owned cobalt mine being halted by a DRC court. So these factors frame the proposition for the development of Kuniko's projects in Norway, and with the present climate, increases the focus on the development of raw materials in Europe for Europe. In Norway, we have approximately 790 square kilometres of exploration licences, and they're clustered around 4 project regions, prospective for copper, nickel, cobalt and technology metals. Norway also hosts cobalt and nickel refining facilities in the south here, down the bottom. And you will also note that our projects are relatively close to some of these battery gigafactories being developed by Morrow here. We've got Beyonder just over here and Freya up to the north. Moving on to Kuniko's project portfolio, our flagship cobalt project is called Skuterud. That's where our exploration licenses surround the historic cobalt mine, which back in its day was the world's largest supplier of cobalt. Following our exploration activity last year, we've identified 3 target locations where there are anomalies which we'll start drilling in the next couple of months. At one of the sites, we also just completed some subsurface geophysics utilising previous drill holes in that area that were missed previously. And that work will give us the ability for improved drill positioning, and will maximise the return for the drilling work that we do, ensuring that we hit the targets that we aim for. Just surrounding the Skuterud project is another area called Ringerike. We've got about 360 square kilometres of exploration licence there. This project area is prospective for nickel, copper, cobalt and platinum group elements, and we can see that the work of previous explorers has produced some respectable nickel and copper grades around here. Importantly, the project also contains the former Italian mine, which Blackstone Resources did some work on in 2007 and 8, and that showed encouraging results. In addition to that, we recently visited Norway's centralised drill core library. It houses a lot of the drill core for historic Norwegian projects, and you can see in this photo at the bottom of screen on the right hand side, that is all Blackstone's Italian core from 2007-2008. So at that time they did put out a NI 43-101 compliant resource in 2009. So we'll be picking that up again, having a look at that, as well as, with the drill core, seeing if we can define a JORC compliant resource. But we've got to do the work there. That'll kick off in a couple of weeks. And in addition, during the summer, we'll undertake a stream sediment sampling campaign to capture the prospectivity of the broader Ringerike area. On the copper projects, we've got Van Grofte, Undal and Nyberget. All have had some amounts of historical production with reasonable grades, though limited modern exploration. They're all located in a region of Norway that's prolific for copper and nickel. And last year we did do some geochemical sampling at Van Grofte, but also some airborne geophysics across all 3 sites. And the geophysics identified multiple anomalies that we'll be following up with sampling in the field this year, primarily focused on the larger Undal-Nyberg licenses. Feøy, that's a nickel project to the south that sits in close proximity to Stavanger, which is the oil capital of Norway. So there's excellent infrastructure there, skilled resource-focused workforce. And we'll do some reconnaissance work here fairly shortly, and then potentially some groundwork later in the year. At the end of last year, we picked up some ground in the north of Norway. It's called Nord-Helgeland. It's an exciting prospect. It's largely unexplored pegmatite field. It was identified by Norway's own geological team and known to contain LCT pegmatites. But there's really no commercial exploration done in the area previously, so this could make it a very interesting prospect for Kuniko. So to understand what we've got here, we're currently assembling a team of pegmatite specialist geologists, a fairly large team that will undertake an intensive sampling campaign in the area during summer. European summer, and the program will cover both coastal areas as well as mountain areas, and the results of that work should give us a good overview of the potential mineralisation in the area and further field work that we might need to follow up. So by way of highlights, since our listing, we've had some encouraging progress. The field work has provided us cobalt drilling targets, with drilling starting soon. Geophysics has identified anomalies at our cobalt and copper projects. We've been able to acquire additional prospective areas, including Ringerike, where we've got the potential to define a nickel resource. And we've picked up the unexplored pegmatite field in Nord-Helgeland. So we'll prioritise that one along with the most prospective copper and cobalt projects this year. And our work plan really aims to deliver significant progress across the vast majority of our portfolio, so we can evaluate, prioritise and maintain the strong momentum with development. On the corporate overview, the company is well capitalised for its activities. Vulcan remains the largest shareholder with around 24%. And the board and management, it's a strong team, excellent track record. I myself am based in Norway, along with Birgit Leden, And we've also recently recruited an in-house exploration team that'll be based locally, and they'll be leading us through the exploration work across this year. So hopefully with all of that, I've given you a bit to think about with Kuniko. We've got multiple projects in a mineral-rich country with a strong regulatory framework. We're battery metals focused, where the commodity outlook is long-term bullish. There's ever-increasing demand for European projects to come on stream to support the fastest growing battery manufacturing industry around. And our value proposition is aligned with the regulatory framework in Europe and its objectives for ethically sourced, responsibly developed projects. Near term, we've got an exciting cobalt prospect to be drilled, a re-evaluation of the former nickel resource, and exploration in Norway's richest copper region and that unexplored pegmatite field. We're active in our pursuits of our zero carbon target and becoming well connected to the Scandinavian network of green shift leaders and innovators. Also having a focus on opportunities in the region to create value. So we're looking forward to what will be an exciting year in the building of Kuniko and the advancement of our battery metals projects. So thank you for your time.